Hockey Inside Out, presented to you by the Montreal Gazette.
Welcome to the Hockey Inside Out Show. I'm Montreal Gazette sports editor Stu Cowan, joined by Chris Nyland, Jack Todd, and Jessica Rusnek from TSN Radio 690. It's all over for another season, Chris. Does this go down as a major disappointment, the way the season ended for the Canadiens?
I don't know. You know, they battled. I was proud of the way they at least put it out there. You know, they got in that 3-1 hole, 3-0 hole. You know, they played well, but they didn't play well enough to win. They were haunted by the power play, haunted by the inability to score goals. And honestly, their penalty kill went south on them when they really needed it the most. So, you know, I thought at the beginning of the year this team may take a step back before they really start to move forward and be one of those teams that's a real contender come playoff time. And there's a growth process, and you got to bring guys in, and you got to build this team, and they're kind of in the middle of that. I think they were okay this year considering the circumstances.
It's not going to be easy though, Jack. I mean, Tampa Bay is going to be in front of them for years to come. They're a young team. They were 9-2 against the Canadiens this season. Do you see any quick fix for Montreal?
I don't see a quick fix. That's a, you know, when you have a team that's in your division that is that tough and that young and that talented, they're going to be a major obstacle going forward. I mean, we've talked about, everybody knows they've got to improve their offense. They've got to get something going there. The best fix would be if Galchenyuk moves to center and plays like the stud that they hoped he would be. I don't put it on the kid for not having a great playoffs. He was pressing, he was struggling, but Galchenyuk alone could solve a lot of problems. Galchenyuk having a powerful year at center with one more really high-scoring winger could turn this around.
The Game 7 effort level, I think, was a bit disappointing, though, Jessica, from the Canadian standpoint.
Definitely, and they spoke about this approaching Game 6 as a Game 7, and they didn't have that kind of effort at all. It was, I think, extremely disappointing from the Habs fans' perspective that they didn't come out. If it was a game that they lost by 1 goal, an overtime goal, then I think people would say, okay, at least they tried their hardest, but they fell short. But they just didn't have the effort, and I think that's what's most concerning, that they didn't have the urgency that they did have in Game 4 and 5, that all of a sudden it got lost on their flight down to Tampa.
Yeah. You know, I got to disagree, only from the standpoint that Tampa Bay took it away from them. I think they tried. The effort was there. They didn't look like they looked in the previous games as far as all that excitement and forecheck and the skating game and having the puck. Tampa took it away from them from the get-go in the first period, and they never seemed to be able to adjust to that. How are we going to solve getting through the neutral zone with control of the puck and getting in there under the rink? They weren't able to do that, and I really think that was more the reason than their effort level.
Terry said after the game, Jack, that they were emotionally drained, which was disappointing of these players.
I think it was a little bit true. It was because the hole they got themselves in. You know, you get down 3-0 and then you have to battle back to make it 3-2. But I thought really what happened in the first period, they had some chances. That puck that was down under Prust's feet that he couldn't quite get to it. A goal in that situation changes everything. The first 2 goals, you know, you're not going to knock Carey Price after the season he had, but he was down a heartbeat soon on both those goals. Maybe if he makes those saves and one of those pucks goes in, it's a different game, because everybody knows, I think the biggest thing with a great goaltender is he just gives such a boost to the legs. You know, he makes a couple of huge saves and all of a sudden they're all out there flying. And that was missing.
The thing I think that was weird about that statement is that going into this game, a lot of the Canadiens players, or I would say all of them, were talking about just how much confidence they had in their game right now. They felt the momentum was on their side, that it was Tampa Bay who had the backs against the wall. So it's weird that he said that he felt that his team was emotionally drained. That's what the playoffs is, and as much as a physical game, it's also the mental game.
The sign above the door says "Pud excuse," right? No excuses. And honestly, when I heard it last night, and again, I don't like that. I don't like when the coach does that. Now, honestly, I don't know if he used it for an excuse for his team or more for him and his inability to get the power play going, inability to adjust in the game to solve what Tampa was doing to them. Yeah. You had to be able to solve it on the fly and adjust to stay in that game, and they couldn't do it. Tampa kind of snuffed the Canadiens out last night like a lit cigarette. Really snuffed them out.
A power play would have saved that. And this is,
would have helped, for sure.
I've been defending Therrien pretty much all year long, but to me the power play is a bit inexcusable because it's been clear since October they had a problem. Mid-season he's asked about it and he says, well, we can't go out there and score for them. Well, to me, that's not a coach's response. It's your damn job to make sure that power play works. And when you've got PK and Markov on the points, you get it done.
And don't get me wrong, I think he's done some very good things here with this team. There's no question he has for the last 3 years. But I think they're at a spot now where they're like, come on, which way are we going to go as a team?
Yep.
And the excuse thing, I don't buy it. And he can say, well, it's the truth, it's reality. The fact of the matter is he's making an excuse, I think, for the inability of, yes, the team, but also his failure to adjust against Tampa Bay in that game to try and give it reminded me, to try and give his team a chance to win, but it reminded me a little bit of last year against the Rangers, where the Rangers would not allow them to the neutral zone. They took their speed game away, and they never adjusted so they could give themselves a chance to win.
Well, you look at the job Stefan Waite did with Carey Price coming in. You wonder, is it time for a power play specialist coach, a new coach, to come in and run the power play?
I absolutely think that's what they need to address this offseason, and I'm surprised, as we mentioned, the power play hasn't been working since October. Why was this not something that they could have thought about throughout the regular season, to just bring someone in or just see that it's not working? Last year, Gerard Gallant was the one who was in charge of the power play. He's now the head coach of the Florida Panthers. So, it has to come into question, the coaching aspect of it, and I'm sure there's a coach out there who's known as a power play specialist.
I played on the power play.
There we go, Chris Island.
Couple times, scored a couple power play goals. Come on, stood in front of that, up top, see you later. Over.
Chris Nyland, future Canadiens power play coach.
If they screw it up, he
Well,
drops.
come on. It's funny we joke about Daniel Lacroix. I mean, please, you're saying it's funny to think I was a future power play coach? Look at the one they have now. Yeah. I mean, come on.
Well, you can scare them all at the standing in front of them.
Yeah, that's it.
We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. Carey Price, about the only thing he didn't do or couldn't do in the playoffs was score a goal. But after they were eliminated, he took the blame, saying, I didn't play well enough for us to win the series. That's more or less what it comes down to. We lost a lot of tight games. I just needed to make that one more save. What's your thoughts about that? Is that just leadership? Is that...
No, that's nice that he wants to take the hit, but anybody who looks at it says, come on, please. When it's really the inability to score, the miserable power play, the whole thing. I mean, to me, he played well enough. Sure, 4 goals last night, but come on, look at them. Look at the goals that were scored. And, the kid obviously had a great season and all that, but I don't buy that they didn't play well enough. They didn't play well enough as a team to get it done, for sure.
Well, if he lets in more than 1 goal, basically, he hasn't played well enough, because the Canadians rarely score more than 2 or 3 goals in a game. That's going to be the problem. Exactly,
and those comments to me shows who the captain of the Montreal Canadiens is. A lot of questions after Brian Giunta left, who would be, if you could give Carey Price the C, I think the Canadiens organization would. And just those comments, it's, as we said, everyone knows it's not Carey Price's fault. There's a lot of other guys that should have stepped up, and as Chris mentioned, the power play and penalty kill, if they were able to do their jobs, this could have been a different story.
But he's right in that, if he isn't great, and I mean great like Patrick Roy in '93 great, they're not going to win. And, it puts so much pressure, and that takes you back to the power play, and all the things aren't working. A couple of goals, and his job is much easier, and you have enough goaltender there to win. I feel for him having to take the hit, but in one sense, it's true.
Well, you talk about players standing up. Brendan Gallagher, nobody stood up more than him during the playoffs, Chris. It's a good thing and a bad thing that he was
this kid's an animal. It's unbelievable how he plays. Just that play last night, first period, when he poked it by the defender, got to the front of the net, and then Plekanec, the goaltender made a save on Plekanec, put it that way. But and then the other night, getting hit his head, he got cross-checked down last night. Every night he gets up, keeps going, smile on his face, keeps going. Honestly, and when I go back to Kerry Fraser, what he said, they got something out for this kid, and they do, and I don't know why. He works his butt off. He's not a diver. And so what if he goes in the crease once in a while? Good on him. And this kid is the epitome of what a hockey player is supposed to be.
And just off the ice as well, Brendan Gallagher is probably the best guy to deal with in the Montreal Canadiens room. If he's frustrated having to talk to the media 7 days in a row, you would have no idea. He is just, such a nice guy off the ice as well. And as you mentioned, he's what a hockey player should be, and I think what a great human should be as well.
Well, he's not one of the 4As, Jack, but should he or should he be the next captain?
Before we got into the debate, I think you asked me like 2 seasons ago who the captain should be, and I said Gallagher. It was the first one that came to mind. He was so young at that point, it seemed impossible. Going forward, I mean, it's never going to be Plekanec or Markov, obviously. They're in a downslope of their careers. So it's Pacioretty, Subban, or Gallagher to me. And based on this playoff performance, to me, it would be Gallagher. And part of the reason for that is that, to me, PK was a little disappointing. In fact, all season, he did get a Norris nomination, which I thought it was a little iffy. He was a $6 million defenseman. He was not a $9 million defenseman. There's a little bit missing in his game and its decision making and some things like that aren't making him the powerhouse that he needs to be, as well as Carey Price needing to be God for them to win. And if I look at that whole mix, somebody has to wear the C. I think it was missing this year. I would give it to Gallagher for next season.
One of the disappointments, Alex Galchenyuk, 1 goal in the playoffs. Chris, what's going on with this kid?
Well, part of it's the development of the player. I think one-on-one, he's kind of like a one-on player. I don't see a lot of moving the puck, give and go, stuff like that. Down below the dots is a battle in this league, especially come playoff time. He's got to make up his mind that he wants to play center. He told the coach he didn't want to play center. He wanted to play wing. And I certainly think it's because it would free him up to score more goals. He didn't do that. More goals means more money. So when you got to play that center ice game, a 200-foot game, you got to do the job in your own end. It takes a lot out of you up the other end of the ice. And I think next year they have to start out with him at center and see if he has it or not. I'm not sure down low in his own end. And again, not everybody's going to be the perfect defensive player, but you got to be able to do the job and commit to it in your own end, and then get up the other end of the ice and do your thing. So, it's part development, part, hey, it's time to cut the umbilical cord, and put your big boy pants on and get out there and play the position that this team needs you to play in the future.
Well, you mentioned development, and I wonder if it might have been better for Galchenyuk to play a year in the AHL, playing center. I mean, the last time the Canadiens rushed the guy into the NHL was Guillaume Latendresse, which didn't really work out that well.
Guillaume doesn't measure on the IQ chart, so that could have been the problem there. No, I wonder now. His first year, it looked like it was working pretty well, but you look at his contemporaries. There were 2 guys kind of mentioned in the same breath as him. One was Yakupov, who's been a big disappointment in Edmonton, going straight to the league. The other one is Grigorenko, who's been up and down more times than a bad tuna fish sandwich. He just hasn't caught on, and he was supposed to have the same kind of offensive upside as Galchenyuk. These guys are all really young, but I completely agree with Chris. He's got to tell him, you're our #1 center. Tell him before training camp even starts. We're going to stick you in there, and you're going to do the job, and see if he can, because if he can't, this is the time to find out.
The season coming to an end now, Jessica, is there a moment or something that sticks out in your mind that you'll remember?
With the Canadiens, that's a good question. Well, the one thing that I remember from this year was the Florida Panthers game when they couldn't find a goaltender. So that, to me, would be, when I think of this season, the funniest thing of, what do you do when your 2 goalies go down and 2 guys coming back? But I think it's just the way that this team has been able to develop. We talked a lot about if this season would be seen as a success or not, but I think the regular season was seen as a success. A lot of young guys really embracing the role of becoming leaders, like Pacioretty and Subban, giving that I think meant a lot to them, and I think that was a good idea to go with 4 A's rather than rushing a C.
Now, you said that you expect them to take a step back this season. Do you see them taking a step forward next year, Chris?
I don't know if they're ready yet, to be honest with you. It depends they don't have a center iceman. that can do this. You know, they need another goal scorer. I love Max Pacioretty. He can't do it on his own. He needs some support there. Another goal scorer. Where does that come from? Can they make a move? Depth is one thing. Depth on D and depth on third and fourth line players. They need to start to shore up the middle and get another goal scorer. And that's not easy. Honestly, for Marc Bergevin, he got his work cut out for him.
I think this is the window. These guys, you have three key guys here, Carey Price, PK Subban, and Max Pacioretty. They are just going into the peak 3 to 5 seasons of their career, what should be physically, mentally, every other way. This is your Stanley Cup window coming up. If it's true, as Bergevin said, that this has been a team in transition, this is the time when you transit from, you know, moving up to being there. If they're going to win one, it has to be in the next 3 to 5 seasons. They've got to shore up center ice. They've got to find more scoring. They've got to fix the power play. They do those 3 things, and they're in the mix for next year and beyond.
Well, that's it for another season of Hockey Inside Out. We hope you all enjoyed it. Have a safe and happy summer, everybody.